Let it go. I want to tell you my favorite bear joke. Some of you have heard my favorite bear joke. We're a minister walking through the woods one day, just having his time out in nature and communing with God in that way. The minister was walking along, and he looked up, and there was a bear coming in his direction. Large, huge brown bear. And the bear, as the minister tried to sidle away out of sight, the bear kept following and kept right on his tracks. And finally, the bear caught up with him. And the minister he finally just gave up, and he went to his knees and in prayer, and he said, God, please reach out to this bear. Make this bear a Christian to make me safe. Make this bear a Christian. Bring this bear, if possible, into the awareness of your love, your light, and do it now. And to his great surprise, the bear stopped right in his tracks, fell to his knees, and put his paws together, closed his eyes, and looked up to heaven and said, Lord, for this meal, we thank you. Some things can't change. Some things don't change. We're in our fall series exploring the evolutionary practices of humans and 12 specific arenas for evolving ourselves in consciousness. Today we're looking at the faculty of elimination, or letting go. It's also, you could call it, the faculty of giving. Any fans here of a movie called The Revenant? No? Who hasn't seen The Revenant? Raise your hands. If you don't like violence, don't watch it. My wife calls it pain porn. It's just that way. It's based on a real event, a real person who was mauled by a bear, left for dead, and in the early 19th century in the American West, left for dead, and made his way back alone to seek revenge on the people who had abandoned him. They had neglected their duties toward him in doing that. Well, the same event was also that real person was the basis of another movie you may be familiar with, Jeremiah Johnson, 1972. Robert Redford gets mauled by a bear. And then he has all these adventures trying to get back. The color is russet, and the animal symbol is bear, and it's not because of what the bear does in the woods. Well, maybe a little. All a bear does is consume and release. That's all a bear does. That's its whole purpose, is consume and release. Even in mating, there is no attachment. They consume that experience and then go their separate ways. And there's zero attachment until there are cubs. For the sows, then it's dangerous even for the male to approach. She's holding to what's important, the bear is, and to the exclusion of everything else, to the elimination of everything else. The faculty of elimination is not just about letting go, it's about knowing what not to let go. Discerning what not to let go, what's important to keep. The bear releases attachments to anything that doesn't serve it well, and yet it maintains the strongest attachment to those that mean the most. It doesn't have to think about it. Unfortunately, we do have to think about it. I have an event that I go to some years in the summer. I'll go to what my wife calls a Buddha camp. It's a Vipassana training. It's 10 days of Buddhist meditation. In those 10 days, there's no talking. There's no meat. You don't step on insects. There's all sorts of agreements that you make going into this Vipassana training. But the purpose of Vipassana training is to develop a capacity of non-attachment, to develop a being of non-attachment. That work is so transforming for me. It sparked a lot of introspection, though. Do I really want to release all my attachments? Anybody have grandkids? Good luck releasing those attachments. That's not what we want to do. The blessing is apparent of the releasing, because the releasing of attachments, it gives you command of your own emotions. Releasing attachments give you command of your own state of mindfulness, your own state of mind. I want to develop healthy attachments, but not to release them all. We humans are hypersocial. We are evolved to need one another in a way that certainly that bears don't. A bear could care less if it sees another bear other than its own cub, except at mating time and in mating season. But we're not bears. We need one another in that way. Elimination, the faculty of elimination, the ability to let go. In metaphysics, the study of metaphysics, this faculty drives the giving side of the principle of giving and receiving. And it's the part we pay less attention to. We like the receiving side, don't we? Oh yeah, we want to visualize, we want to create vision boards of all the receiving we're going to do. And this is the side that needs the attention very often. What I'm referring to when I say the principle of giving and receiving, it's an arena of interest in metaphysical circles for years. The principle of giving and receiving is also called the principle of mind action. Some call it a law of attraction, but that so doesn't describe what I'm talking about. I don't even like to use that phrase for it. In science, it's Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction in life. Now this describes the physical world. It's physics. And the question is, does it work that way in non-physical arenas of life? Does it work that way on non-physical aspects of life, on the aspects of prosperity, on the aspects of wholeness, in the aspects of relationship? What happens to a relationship if one person stops giving themselves to the relationship, stops releasing what's happening to the universe in the relationship? The relationship just melts, doesn't it? There's a correlation between the energy and attention we put into something and what we receive from it. We see that in relationships, in jobs, in home life, in social activities, in personal practice. So in that way, at least, the principle of giving and receiving is work in our lives. Whatever we give to life is going to impact what we receive. When we release our energy into the world, we are open then to being energized by it. If we're holding our energy in, we're not receiving anything. It's a pretty self-contained experience, but we're not meant to be self-contained. If we withhold our energy from our jobs, and don't release our energy into our jobs, what's going to happen? It's going to deteriorate. Giving is the practice for transforming this faculty and for evolving it mindfully. This faculty is a true wisdom builder as well. Regret is an attendant emotion. Is regret a positive emotion or a negative emotion? We label them that way, don't we? It's just an emotion. It doesn't have positive or negative. Emotion just can't. We don't like regret. And because we don't like regret, it teaches us to do things better. Paying attention to the regret helps us to discern what to release and what not to release. Have you ever released something and then regretted it? Been in a relationship, released that person, regretted it later? Been in a relationship, the other person releases you. You have no choice but to release. And regret can be a part of that. It's a wisdom builder because it teaches us to discern what to keep and what to release. The faculty of judgment is active in this process as well. Choices. Out of balance or underdeveloped. The faculty of release, the faculty of elimination would have us losing everything repeatedly or drowning in unnecessary stuff or dangerous relationships. And I'm going to say that again. if it's out of balance or undeveloped in one direction, this faculty will have us losing everything repeatedly. Have you ever watched somebody, observed somebody who does this? And out of balance the other way, it would have us holding on to things we don't need and drowning in the stuff and even being in dangerous relationships, holding on to things beyond the time when we need to let it go. Metaphorically, it's diarrhea or constipation. That's what we're looking at. Sorry for all the potty humor today, but it's the faculty of elimination. What else am I going to do? We heard music from a Disney movie, Let It Go, earlier. There's another Disney movie I want to talk about. The title is Brother Bear. Have you ever seen Brother Bear? Brother Bear is based on Inuit stories, Pacific Northwest and Arctic stories. In this movie, the main character, Kenai, he's a young Inuit man with a particular distaste for bears. His brother, Sitka, was killed by a bear, and so Kenai, in turn, kills the bear that killed his brother. And as he does, he's magically transformed into a bear himself. And as a bear himself, he's being hunted by his other brother, who wants to get revenge as well. Kenai's only hope is to go to a magical mountain where he believes he can be changed back to a human. It's a place where the northern lights touch the earth. And he enlists a real bear cub to get him there. They have adventures. They learn to see through each other's eyes, to feel through another's heart. They discover the meaning of brotherhood. And what is released, what is let go, is the hate that started the cycle to begin with. Once that's released, everything goes back to normal. This is a strong metaphor for our lives, for that part of ourselves that deals in hate, or that deals in revenge, that deals in getting even, all those things that the principle of giving and receiving would seem to apply to, but are misapplications of the principle. I won't give away the ending of Brother Bear. It's worth the time for adults too, just as much as for kids. The practice is giving. Nothing opens the heart and mind more than releasing, more than letting go. I would anticipate, I would go so far to say, as that the practice of releasing, the practice of non-attachment, is so foundational to the spiritual life and to the transforming life as to be endemic to it. You have to do this in order to grow. We have to let go of one relationship in order to be fully present in another. We have to let go of the things that served us 2 years ago, if they're not serving us now, so that we can be open to the universe providing us with what we're going to need 2 years from now. It keeps us in the flow. When we shut off the flow, when we shut off the giving, when we're hoarding, when we're keeping things we don't need, when we're keeping relationships that don't serve us, we're stifling our own growth, our own transformation. Let's take a moment now for meditation.